I love making textures and putting textures upon metal. And in the past, I've used these. These are texture hammers, as you can see. One hammer produces two textures, as you can see here. Okay, very similar, but you're very limited to what they can do because you've got to buy a hammer for two textures. That used to be a problem, but not now, because Durston have produced a basic range of tools. And in here, I've got something really exciting to show you. So what does this mean? This means that Durston have selected products from the major tool suppliers from around the world that are able to produce a nice, simple, inexpensive tool, but still has that amazing quality that Durston are well known for. And in this box here, we have got a hammer, plus in this box, we have got all of these hammer faces. And as you can see, we have got a variety of textures, which means that you buy one hammer, the heads are replaceable, and it means that you can simply put on, in this instance, 9 different textures from this one hammer. Let me show you the sort of hammer heads that we're looking at. So here is our hammer. It's a nicely weighted hammer, and the faces, as you can see, will screw on and off. Nice long threads, and you can put on a hammer face and put on the ring, and that will screw down, and now you have got a texture hammer with this particular texture on. But if you don't want that texture, as I said, you've got 9 different textures to choose from. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've got 9 different textures, plus we've also got a flat brass head, we've got a slightly domed brass head, and also we've got a flat Delrin head, and again a slightly domed Delrin head. So we get all these hammer faces in the kit. So let me show you the textures that these faces put on metal. I got some little squares of copper here that we're going to be putting some textures on. Now, also within the Basics range comes a stake as well, and I'm going to be using this stake to support our metal. The stake comes with a rubber base, and it has a recess in the top, and it comes with a hardened steel top, just like that there, and also it comes with a nice Delrin top as well, which means that you can put metal on here and hammer, and it will not mar the surface because Delrin is soft to the hammer blows, and it won't mark the metal. So I think it's a great little bench block with nice replaceable top, and also being rubber, it is going to avoid the noise that you get from simply putting your steel block directly on your workbench. So we're going to be using this Basics bench block as well. So let's put one of the textures into the hammer. We're going to use this one here. This is a little protrusion, about a 2mm protrusion sticking out of the end of the hammer face, and we're going to replace the hammer face with that particular one. So we can simply put that onto our hammer face like that, and screw the nut to hold that firmly into position like that. Okay, and on the other side there's also another little hammer face very similar to that, but with a slightly larger, and this time this is a square and that will go on there as well. And I'm just going to produce some textures using these hammer faces. Knurled edges, you can really get onto that and really tighten them up really hard. So let's get our bench block into place. Our piece of copper, I'm just going to hold on to the one side here, and we're using this face here. This is the small little rod that is sticking out, and yes, as you're going to expect, we're going to be able to make dents into the metal. And that is producing really, really nice, almost like bubbles. Lovely, even-sized dents across the whole area. So I like that, really happy with that. As you can see, we got a great effect from that. If you hit it at an angle, you're going to get slight little curvatures, but hit it straight on. And you get a lovely pattern like that. So that's the first one. Let's look at this next one. So I said this is the little protrusion sticking out, and this has a square face on this. Bit of copper. Let's see what this one looks like. I'm expecting it to be pretty much the same as what we've got on here. And again, a great texture upon this, as you can see. And that is looking really, really cool as well. Obviously, being square, you can turn the hammer so you don't get every single hammer blow square on. You can rotate the hammer, turn the hammer, so the blows are random. So that's really good. I really do like that. Let's take these off here. And I'll put that with that one. Obviously, my fingers are quite close to the hammer. Perhaps I would come along and tape the metal down onto the surface. This time we're going to be using almost this like a spike, like a stud sticking out of that one there. And on the other side, quite the opposite. It's a little dimple, little hole into the hammer face on this one. Now, as the striking area of the hammer face increases, it's going to need a little bit more pressure, a little bit more force to make a mark. Something that's quite narrow, quite pointy is going to make a nice dent. Something that's quite flat is going to basically be a little bit harder, and you may have to hit the hammer a little bit heavier. Let's try the point. So again, being very careful with my fingers. That is very, very pointy. So you can see with that, it's made dents. And these are going to be quite deep dents that we have made on this piece of metal. And also, by being slightly conical, the holes are slightly conical as well. That's looking really cool. Now, with the next head, I'm not expecting an awful lot to come out of this head. It's got a dimple, so you have to hit down the metal around it to leave that little section in the middle standing proud. So I'm expecting a lot of heavy hammer blows with this to make a mark. As you can see, I'm hitting this really, really heavy, and it's producing a little bit of a shiny edge, and in the middle is that hole. So that's the sort of texture we're looking like on that one there. A little bit harder. Not that impressed with that texture, to be honest. Like you can see, you need a lot heavier hammer blows for that. And there. What should we try next? Let's try this almost like diamond effect on that side there. On the other side, again, very similar, but a bit more of a square checkered pattern on this one. So these two textures are very similar, one diamond shaped, one square shaped. Almost like a meat tenderizer, a steak tenderizer. Random the pattern. So, really nice texture upon that one. I do like that texture, a lovely triangular pattern. I randomized the position of the hammer, and that's producing a lovely texture. And the other side is going to be the squares. So let's try that as well. So again, very similar pattern to the previous head, but again, really, really nice patterns. And obviously, as you're hitting the metal, you are work hardening the metal. So you may find that once you've gone over the metal once, you need to heat up the metal, whether it be silver, copper in this case, or even the gold, and you would need to anneal it because you're basically work hardening the metal. So let's put these two on now. So these are more of a linear pattern. On this one we've got straight lines, but the face is completely flat. So again, we're going to need an awful lot more power on the hammer blows to produce these effects because there's a greater surface area. And this one here is a little bit more of a serrated edge, which as the edges are a little bit thinner, you're going to get more of a texture with that. So let's have this one here and start to hammer this one. So this is going to be the flat-faced lines. And with that, we get the look here. And if you wanted to, you can always turn the hammer face around at 90 degrees to where you were just hammering and carry on, and you get a bit more of a cross-hatched look upon this. There we go. And that gives you a little bit more of a random pattern. The next is going to be the chiseled edges, as you can see on here, and we're going to try this. So again, it's linear, there's going to be lines. And that's producing, I love that texture. I really do like that. Almost like cross hatching, almost like you've come along with a graver to put all those lines in. Again, if you wanted to turn that hammer head around and make some slight lines going at the 90 degrees to that, not a problem. You can either turn the piece round or you can turn the position of the hammer face to suit the direction you're going in. So that's 8. The last one, I've left the most boring until last actually, because this is going to be nothing more than just a simple planished look, and it's a very, very simple, slightly domed face on this one. So, last piece of metal. So with that hammer face, we get that lovely, and I must admit, I do love this planished look that we've got on here. I think that really is lovely, and a lovely flat piece, or put that onto a ring. The way the little dimples catch the light, I think that's absolutely gorgeous. So there, those are our 9 textures that we get simply from the one hammer. We can use the brass head, slightly domed, the flat brass head, and if we were just trying to shape metal and we don't want to put any dents or any marks into the metal, but then we can use the Delrin heads with the hammer as well. They're exactly the same way to put them on, screw them into place. This one here, and if we didn't want to mark the metal on the bottom, we can always remove the hardened steel top and replace that with the Delrin. And because we've got the Delrin on the face of the hammers here, we can now use that to flatten the curvature of our metal. We can come along and hammer that lovely and flat, as you can see, without fear of removing the texture that we have got on our piece of copper. So just like that there, nice and flat, whereas just a second ago there was a bit of a curve from the textures. So there we go. All in all, I think for the price, it's absolutely brilliant. It's an absolute bargain. You basically get all of these hammer faces, interchangeable hammer faces, for the one hammer, and I think it's an absolute steal at the price. Obviously you don't necessarily need the bench block as we've got here, although I do like this because of the rubber. It does absorb some of that noise. You can always still use your regular bench block, but I love this. I love the fact that you can swap it round. It's nice, it absorbs a lot of the sound, whereas by having the steel block, even if you put a bit of cushion underneath it, it's still not as quiet as using the Durston Basics bench block. So there we go. The Durston Basics texture hammer combo kit, along with the combination bench block as well. I think they're a fabulous combination and they go together really well. I'll put up on the screen all the textures that we've just produced for you to see. Let you make your own mind up. Very quick demonstration, but I'm sure with a little bit more concentration, a little bit more time, you can get much better textures than what I've done very simply on those bits of copper there. So there we go. Hope you liked that film. Don't forget, please don't forget, subscribe and tickle the little bell icon on the end there just to be notified when we release films on YouTube. Don't forget, please give this film a thumbs up if you like it. Do appreciate it, and please do share it with all your friends. In the meantime, my name's Andrew Berry. Everyone, take care. Bye-bye. Ow!